So, good morning, great morning. Welcome to another fabulous episode of Exit Strategies Radio Show. Hey, I am your host, Corwin J. Millett, broker and owner of Exit Realty Low Country Group in beautiful North Charleston, South Carolina. If this is your first time listening to this show, whether you're passing through the area, maybe you are a local resident of the Charleston area that just happened to tune in on the radio, maybe you're catching us on your favorite podcast or any other platform. Our mission here at this show is very simple. That is to empower our community through financial literacy and real estate education, guys. We are legacy building. That is what we do. So, guys, I'm super stoked. I'm super excited. As always, we have been searching high and low to find the best for you. And today we have one of the best here with us to deliver to you something that could be revolutionary for you, could be life-changing for you, and set you on a trajectory for you and your family so that you guys can begin to create wealth and build wealth for generations yet to come. So, guys, I am super excited to have with us today Mr. Bashoy Habib, Esquire. He is a licensed attorney operating out of the state of Florida and also New York. So he get around. I love that. I love that. Now, he is the co-founder and managing partner at Legacy Legal. He is also the co-founder and broker of Capstar Real Estate, a guy after my own heart. So, Bashoy, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I love the energy, Corwin. I love the intro, and I appreciate you having me on the show.
Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know that you are definitely challenged because, look, there's a lot of work to be done out here. So, Bashoy, real quick, high-level overview. Tell listeners who you are and what it is that you do.
Yeah, I am a real estate attorney by trade. I've been doing that for 12 years now. I'm a deal-making real estate attorney. I pride myself on getting deals done. I'm a deal maker, not a deal breaker, unlike other attorneys. So we find ways to get to the finish line, not to find ways to not get the deal done. So I think being raised in a house where my dad was a real estate investor and he would drive me around when I was 5, 6 years old to his properties. I negotiated my first lease, commercial lease at the age of 15 with my father as a landlord. And from that point on, I mean, it really just, my mindset has been very different from a lot of attorneys. I also like numbers on a lot of attorneys, which is funny. So in that sense, for me, I like the real estate and the deal side of it more than the legal side, but I just so happen to have the background and the experience. And so when I combine those two things, I think it's pretty lethal and my clients really like that. So that's the legal side of things. On the broker side of things, I am co-broker of a brokerage here in the Tampa Bay area, Capstar Real Estate, and we focus on, yes, some traditional retail stuff, but we also do off-market and creative deals and things like that, because that's the way you have to do deals in Tampa to get ahead, because it's such a competitive market. And we're now in year 2 of the brokerage. It's been awesome. We got 20 agents under us, phenomenal group. I love them. And they keep me busy, but they're a great group of people. And then obviously I'm an investor as well. And I think that probably can resonate the most with your audience. I've been investing. We can dive into this if you want, but kind of some passive investments, some active ones, which I don't love because I'm spread so thin, but I do different things as well. And we've done wholesaling and we've done novations and we've done subject to. And so we've done a lot of different things on the investment side as well.
So, Bashoy, what drives the passion? What is it that kind of, quote unquote, gets your heart pumping in the morning, is the reason why you get up and eat your Wheaties, so to speak? What is it that kind of drives you in this arena to keep pushing forward?
I think that, first of all, I'm a deal junkie. I love getting deals done. I love looking at deals. I don't underwrite them in traditional sense, but just, oh, that's a cool deal. Let's figure it out. And then, what I'm breaking into and really where I want to be is like piecing the deals together, structuring the deals. I've always been good at negotiating deals, but now it's like, we need $1 million to close this. What if we found that $1 million? Where do we fit into the equation? Or you have $1 million to invest. How about you connect with my client here and I'm in the middle of it, right? And so for me, that's the most fun part of it all. So that's what drives me, man. And high level, leaving a legacy. And that's why I named my law firm Legacy Legal, because I wanted to help clients leave a legacy. That's literally like, I was stuck on a name for months. I was like, I don't want to just be Habib Law. That's boring. That's not who I am. Like, I want to be the antithesis of the average attorney, because I just feel like I'm not the average attorney. And my wife's like, well, why are you doing this? Like, and I just sat there and thought about it. And we were on our honeymoon. I was planning this and last year. And I said, I just want to help people leave a legacy. And I want to leave a legacy. And I just combined the words and that became it. So for me, it's just all about, what are you doing beyond making money here? How are you impacting the world? How are you impacting people? And how are you helping leave a legacy? And how are you helping your clients leave a legacy? And so everyone can make money. It's really what you do with that money and time and freedom and flexibility that really is going to set you apart 10, 20, 50, 100 years from now.
So it's interesting you should touch on that. I've been having like an ongoing and conversation, if you will. One of my business partners, if you will, we got into this conversation about this being your legacy season, a time of your life when you're looking to not only have impact on others and what are you doing for others and what will your life mean and have as a legacy, but also creating and continue to build that legacy, if you will, that you plan to leave your children or children's children, what have you. So those things right there are very critical. So I'm very excited. What I also love is that you're excited about what you do. You're passionate about what you do, about helping and serving people. And that, man, is the game changer. Once you have excitement about what is it you're doing, if you will, on a day-to-day, once you're encouraged to keep going, game changer. It really is. So let's talk about, you negotiated your first commercial lease with your dad. I literally had this visual when you said it. How did that go?
It went awesome. So this was like, I don't know if it was pre-internet, but we were not negotiating. It was probably like 2002, 2001. But there was no internet in the sense of what we think today. So nowadays we redline leases, like we redline it on the computer. Back then you're like faxing in and you're handwriting. And I'm negotiating with the state of Florida was the tenant. And obviously my dad's there, like he knows more than I do. But like I really, in my mind and in my heart, I took the lead. And then he was like, no, that's not good. Yes, that's good. And I don't know, it just made sense to me. Like it just came so easy, it came so natural to me. And like when I do lease review now, I feel the same way. It just felt like easy to me. And a lot of people get scared from documents that I'm just like reading all day, and it came naturally to me. So it was kind of fun, interesting, and definitely a high, I could say, at that point in time, and a confidence builder.
That would have the average person shook. Like you see my hands, I'm over here trembling, right? It would literally have most people like completely shook. I don't know if I want to do this ever again in my whole life. That is profound. I love it. I love it. So you guys, and if I remember correctly, and don't quote me wrong, now I may have to go look it up because in my mind, I remember like a book with the name The Art of the Deal or something of that nature. And so when I hear you talk about the creativity and being in love with creating, opportunities for everybody to win, because that's what a deal is. Deal is everybody win. A lot of people miss that, but sure, a lot of people get kind of hung up and think for everybody to win, because that's what a deal is. Deal is everybody win. Everybody has to win, because then at that point, if everybody isn't winning or doesn't feel they've gotten something, then there's no deal. So my question to you is, what types of structures do you prefer? What's your initial approach when you look at, if there is an initial approach that you use with most properties? But before you begin, I want to give a disclaimer for all the people that listen to us that are residents, live in, have property in South Carolina. Wholesaling is an illegal practice in South Carolina. You cannot wholesale property in South Carolina. In order to market and sell property, you have to be a licensed agent unless you're marketing and selling your own. Okay. So I want to make sure I give that disclaimer. Don't want anybody to get in trouble. Wholesaling is legal in South Carolina. So, Bashoy, how do you normally approach a deal when you first get something that maybe comes across your desk or someone calls you about?
I get involved because I represent one client or another. Typically, if I'm in my attorney role, right, let's say that, not structuring a deal, but if they call Attorney Bashoy and they're like, hey, we got this deal, or we're lending this money, or we're selling this property, it's pretty clear to me what to do because I now represent one party. I have a fiduciary duty to that party. So I know that I have to only act in that party's best interest, regardless of what else is going on, right? So it provides clarity to me. Now, as far as like, that's the legal kind of answer to it. Now, as far as like a practical approach, you're right. You have to understand what is the other side really after. And I think that the thing about negotiation, and I'm Egyptian, and I think there's different cultures that are just good at negotiating or natural, like Indian people, Egyptian people, we're just good at negotiating because that's how we're raised. So for me, I can negotiate all day. It's fun for me, but I'm also very good at it. And I think that's one of my biggest strengths. But what separates, I think, me from other people with negotiation is the other side is not always going to tell you what they want. You have to understand what they want. You have to hear what they're saying. They don't always tell you we want X, Y, and Z. But through what they're asking, you can try to discern, ask the right questions, and really find the pain point and say, we may not be able to get you this and that, but what if we solved your problem in a different way? And that's really the crux of what a negotiation is. Like you said, solving everyone's problem. So for me, that's always like one of the best things. And then just getting creative with it. And it's always an open table if we're negotiating. It's more fun if we have the leverage because then we call the shots, but you're not always in that position. Sometimes you have no leverage and you just have to bluff a little bit or be a little bit more aggressive and get some standing. So every situation is unique. There's no two situations that are alike. You just have to listen to what the other side wants and you can hear what they're willing to give up. And you have to understand what you're willing to give up and then find a middle ground.
So that makes very good sense. Finding that common ground, if you will, that exists when you see something or perceive something that goes by as an opportunity. So is there a preference of, because granted, first of all, for our listeners, you got two hats for sure. You got two hats. So you got the real estate guy hat, if you will, professionally, and then you got the attorney hat. Those two things sometimes probably look a little different. And to be very transparent, my imagination tells me that sometimes there is some conflict that probably could arise in that, meaning your attorney hat says this, your real estate guy hat says this, and depending upon which side, if you will, if you're on or where your role or position is in the situation, that's going to dictate what direction you take. Does that sound correct?
Yeah, 100%.
So is there a particular type of property outside of the deal? So let's take the attorney hat off for a moment. We might come back to that. But sure, the real estate guy hat, what types of properties are you most interested in? And what type of opportunity do you pursue most? Seller finance? What is it in there that's kind of your appetite?
We've done over the last year, me and my two business partners collectively in our company, our investment company, we've done something like 50 transactions that we've closed. And almost all of those have been single family. We are trying to move out of the single family space now. So we know everything there is to know. We've done it all. I've done 2 flips on my own. Well, 1 flip I've done and 1 I have to do here in the future. And I got to tell you, it was the most miserable experience of my life. Why? Because I don't want to do a flip. It's not for me. Now, I also have clients who do 2 or 3 or 4 flips a month and they make a lot of money. And that's just what they like to do. But when I referenced a few minutes ago in the beginning of the call, I don't like active real estate. That's what I'm talking about. You could make $100,000 plus on a flip. I just don't want to do it. I don't understand it. I don't know how to manage it. It's just not what I do. What I tell you is just my opinion, right? There's no right or wrong answer. The commercial space is really where I want to be, right? So I've invested passively in hotel deals over the last 15 years, actually. So I know a good amount about hotels, not as an operator and a manager, but as a passive investor, a limited partner, if you will. Those deals have been good to us for the most part, not 100%. Some of them got really hurt by COVID, but those deals were good to us. Ultimately, for me, I mean, I want to get more into the commercial space, whether that's self-storage, which is very little management. That's something that I'm actively looking at right now. We were looking at gas stations, which is a little bit different. So, but these are things we're looking at. These are not things we're actively in right now. So again, I have passive investments in a land entitlement company for those who are familiar with that. Basically, they take raw land, like they buy it from a farmer, and then they turn it into shovel ready, and then they'll sell it to Lennar or D.R. Horton and make a ton of money doing it because they are solving a big problem for these developers who don't want to do that for a year and a half or 2 years. So that's been a good investment for me as well. You know, my theme is passive investments because, again, I have so many different things that I do that I don't want to be managing something actively. It's just I don't have the time for it. And that's just me. That doesn't mean it's right or wrong. Single families is great. My dad had a ton of them and he did well with them. But like, it's just not my personality or my lifestyle.
So you touched on something in there that's very important, in my opinion, Bashoy, which is everything you just said is a matter of preference. For the most part, people out here singing the same tune. And what I mean by that is, for the most part, people are telling people flip. And everybody want to go out here and do flips or try to, but it's not the right thing for everybody. It's kind of like, so most people, if they develop an intolerance or something, But short version, and forgive the crassness of the statement, but you don't usually know you lack lactose intolerant until you don't have too much dairy, which means you've been exposed to it. So similar to that, you don't know whether or not a fix and flip is right for your system, if you will, unless you don't been exposed to it. So apparently you got exposed to it, and that just didn't mesh well with your system. Does that sound about right?
That's 100% right. I never again. I was supposed to make close to 100,000 on the flip, and I broke even barely. Might have lost a little money. A lot of other issues that it wasn't like my fault completely, but that's the point. That's exactly the point. I didn't do anything wrong per se. I just relied on people that didn't come through, and then cost time and money. And just again, it's not what I do. But here's another analogy. I mean, you got guys who make $100 million trading stocks, or $10 million, or $1 million. I don't know how to trade stocks. I could buy and hold in companies that I believe in or understand. You got guys who are making $20 million in crypto. I don't know my head from my you-know-what in crypto. I don't. I have a little bit of crypto, but I don't know how to make that. That's just not for me. So it's just not. And I know kids that are 20 years old that have made millions in crypto. I personally know them and their clients and friends. That's just not me. I don't get it. I got day traders, option traders. Everybody's got their own groove. And it's just the way your brain works or what you're good at. So I think to your point, it's not really a right or wrong. You just have to get comfortable with it. Learn from somebody who's doing it and see if it's something that you want to do and feel good about doing.
At the end of the day, Bashar, you got to be able to quote unquote sleep at night. So you have and I'll frame this as like an underlying, if you will, theme. And where I'm going with that for our listeners is, oftentimes they hear people on our show. I mean, and we're going to talk about money. We're in that financial arena talking about real estate, about financial literacy. So obviously we're going to talk about money, and we're going to talk about how to manage it, but we're also going to talk about how to build, create, and otherwise generate wealth. So that's what we're discussing. But oftentimes people think that people in this space that are doing things such as what you're doing in this space are only doing it for the money. You have like an underlying reason you give back to your community through the money that you make. Am I right about that? Am I incorrect?
No, you're correct. And a lot of it is pro bono work that I do for people in the community. And that's all under the radar, but there's a lot of different ways to give back. Absolutely.
So what I love is how you just sidestep, and I get it. That's your underlying reason why you do what you do and the benefit of being successful, that you're able to do that. So I won't pull any more out, but I do want our listeners to know that people that are successful embed, implant, encourage, inspire. They do a lot of ends with other people. That's all new. I've never said that before in my life. I need to figure out a coin that or something. But all those people have ends with other people. Again, encourage them, inspiring them. I mean, all those things, and they give back to people to help grow people to the next level. That's something that people sometimes miss, because all they hear is, well, you're making money, or you're making money, or you're making money. But they don't see and hear you're giving back, you're pouring into, you're contributing, et cetera, et cetera. So I won't stay on that particular side. But Shoy, now you guys buy properties or pursue opportunities all over the U.S.?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, I mean, we do focus a lot in Florida because we know the market, but we've transacted as investors in, I don't know, at least 10 different states now.
Okay. Any particular state that you have more of an appetite for?
I mean, Florida, but outside of Florida, we've looked in the Midwest because the prices are just so affordable. I mean, you could buy houses for under $100,000, which is crazy because here where I live, it's a $400,000. It's like the starting point, or like the average, if you will, starter home. So to see a home in Ohio or Michigan for $80,000 and then to buy it with $5,000 down, seller finance for 4%. I mean, it's crazy. You don't get the appreciation, but you get the cash flow. So what do you want?
And so that kind of brings me to something else. I've said similar. We always talk about housing affordability and all that kind of stuff. And there are affordability issues. However, affordability issues don't exist everywhere. There are opportunities outside of the more desirable, more congested or dense areas that you may be able to achieve affordability. So thank you for getting that on the table. But Shoy, how can people reach you? Like, how can people connect with you? They may have need for services. They may have questions. Where can people reach you at?
If you're on social media, find me at Attorney Bishoy. That's Attorney Bishoy. Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. I'm on LinkedIn as my name appears. So it's Bishoy Habib, Bishoy, Habib. And then if you're not really a social media person, my law firm's name is Levacy Legal. It's levacylegal.com, 813-553-2699.
Awesome. Thank you for that. But sure, I usually frame this as the mic drop question. It's that 2020 thing. Everybody, gets that. And I'm pretty sure over your life, you've heard people, and especially as you get older, people will ask you, if you had this thing to do all over again, what would you do differently that you think would catapult you? Like, what have you learned that if you knew in the beginning, boom, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you don't mind, for our listeners, let's hit that question. What is it that you've experienced, that you've learned thus far? I mean, granted, going back to age 15, negotiating a commercial lease, that's hilarious. So you probably took some lessons from that. But if you knew what you knew now back then, what do you think you would have done differently?
I probably would have bought all the Bitcoin before I hit $90,000 this week. I mean, that's pretty simple. I can't believe it. I'm tracking it and it's about to hit $90,000. And I'm not like a huge Bitcoin guy. It's just amazing. It was worth nothing 5 years ago or 7 years ago. All right. So that's not realistic. What I would say, though, as a practical, something people could take away from this is I think if I could go back in time, I would have fought less and just gone and done it. And I think as an attorney, sometimes, our whole job is to think about things and analyze things. But there is a thing as over-analysis paralysis, or just analysis paralysis, as the case may be. I think that I've done good for myself, but I think if I could go back in time, when I got out of law school in 2012, we perceived the market to be in a brutal position where there was nothing going on. And that's why I decided to go practice law, because there was no jobs as real estate investors at the time. But what we didn't know was that was actually the best time in history to buy real estate, because I'll tell you, in Florida where I am, if you bought a property in 2012, you might be 5 times the value of what it was when you bought it, depending on the property in the area. But it's probably 3, 4, 5 times worth more than when you bought it if you didn't do anything to it. So the idea is that you can't go wrong in real estate. And the advice here, and what I would say if you could go back in time, is it's never too early. It's never too little. And if you don't have money, you have time. If you don't have time, you should have money. It's hard to have both. It's hard to have both. But you should either leverage your time into education and making money. So if you're new and you've never done a deal, go bird dog for someone. Go JV with somebody. Go find somebody like Corwin or myself in Tampa or anybody and say, look, I will do whatever you guys tell me. I will dedicate 20 hours a week, but I want a piece of the deal that I find, but you're going to coach me up. And that's literally how people get started in these deals. And it could just be a small residential deal. It could be a commercial deal, because guess what? Guys like myself and you, we don't have time to do the bird dogging and find the deals. So we need the deals to come to us and we'll figure out how to solve the problem. So there's a big need for people who don't have experience but have time, and you're valuable as well. So if you haven't started, just get started. If you are at the point where you do have a little money and you keep hesitating, just buy the first deal. I mean, obviously you do your due diligence, but like at some point you just got to pull the trigger. And as long as you're planning to hold for a long period of time, like I'm not going to tell you go buy your first fix and flip, because that's very risky. But I am going to tell you, if you're just going to buy and cash flow and maybe put a little money in and just sit on it for 10 years, even 5 years, you practically can't go wrong. 10 years, you cannot go wrong. 5 years, realistically, you're not going to go wrong. So if you're buy and hold strategy, you can't go wrong. Be conservative, but just feel it out. If you're not comfortable doing that, do a limited investment. Go partner with someone. Say, here's 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, whatever your threshold is. Say, I'm going to give you this money. Just show me what you do. Teach me along the way, right? And that's that. And maybe you don't have the time, but you have the $10,000 to put into a deal. Just go do something, right? Because the worst thing you can do is overthink and then do nothing. And we've all been there. It's not about you. It's human nature, right? We've all been there. It's not because you're a bad person. It's not because you're lazy. No, it's analysis by paralysis. And so success loves speed. That's one of my favorite quotes. Just go out there and do the damn thing. Fall on your face. And the more you fail, the more you learn, the more quicker you'll be successful at whatever you do.
I love that. A takeaway from me: success, speed. The analysis paralysis gets so many. You hesitate, you hold, you wait, you don't move, you fail to act. Successful people act. They start off, they know they got boom, go. They jump on everything. No, they have a formula, a method. But I appreciate you stating that, because that is helpful to our audience for them to understand that, guys, you got to act, you got to do something. So, Bashoy, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here on the show with us today. I've loved your energy. I've loved the conversation. I'd love to have you back in the future, because you, sir, get it. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for being on the show with us today.
Appreciate you. It's been a pleasure. It's nice talking to like-minded people like yourself, Corinne. And yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you so much.
Good deal. So for our listeners, guys, look, y'all got some great inspiration, motivation. Look here, y'all just got that shot in the arm. Look here, y'all just got punched in the face. I need y'all to not, I need y'all to react to that. I need you to quote unquote get your bearings, get it back together, and get yourself back into the game, guys, so we can rush this thing, so we can fight this thing out, guys, for your success, for your benefit, for the wealth, for the legacy, for your family. Guys, y'all know how I feel. Y'all know what I say. Y'all know I always put the two of those things together, and I give it to you this way, which is to tell you that I love you, I love you, I love you, and we're going to see you guys out there in those streets.